Thank you all so much for clicking on my podcast. My name is Kelly Egan, and this is Nothing But Tracks. Like I said in the intro, my name is Kelly Egan. I am 26 years old, and this year has been a pretty hard year, I think, for everybody, not just myself. But even in this time of uncertainty and craziness going on in the world around us, I have been reflecting and learning a lot more about myself and finding things that make me happy and give me joy. This year, I've been really trying to focus on my personal health and getting myself healthy, losing some weight, so that way I can have more adventures and not have to worry about my body failing me at 26. So I've also been thinking about things that make me happy and bring me joy. And one of those things is traveling, being hiking, camping, being outside, looking at birds, looking at animals. And the thing I've learned about the more I travel is the more of the world I see, the smaller my problems become. The more time I spend in the outdoors and the more I unplug from the craziness of the world around me, the more I feel like myself. I don't know if I'm the only one, but when I'm out in the wilderness, when I'm out hiking and I hear birds and I hear crickets, I'm not paying attention to my phone. The more I get out and I unplug, the more I feel in touch with the person that I really am and the person that I really want to be. So I started to think of ways that I could share my passion with the world and my passion for hiking and camping and traveling. And I was talking to my family, and my younger brother Logan is actually the one who encouraged me to start a podcast talking about traveling. He knows especially how much I love going new places and trying new things and experiencing the world around me. And he said, you might be really good at this. You might really enjoy giving people recommendations for tips and tricks and things to do and things to maybe avoid doing that were kind of a letdown. People would probably be into that. So I said, you know what? You might be right. I'll think about it. And the more I thought about it and the more I researched it and I just really reflected on it, the more I really liked the idea of starting a travel podcast. So here we are. I have recorded and re-recorded this episode. I think this is now my third time because I just can't seem to get it right. So from this point forward, just bear with me, guys. It's going to be a learning process for all of us. The first time I recorded this episode, I decided to talk about the first camping trip I remember, and I was going to attempt to record episodes chronologically throughout the course of my lifetime. However, my first camping trip was when I was not even 2 years old yet. So it's going to be kind of hard to do that. So I decided to try to do my first episode on the first camping trip I remember, which is when I was about 3 years old. This was before my parents had gotten divorced and mom and dad had taken myself, my older brother Andrew, and my little brother Logan up to Maumee Bay. At the time, the bald eagles were really, really in bad shape and really endangered, but they were still able to see them up at Lake Erie and Maumee Bay. So that's where my dad had taken us. And we had this little pop-up camper that had 2 pop-ups on either side, and it had a dining room table and bench seating between the 2 pop-ups. And in the middle of the night, my older brother, Andrew, he still to this day claims that he was, air quotes, asleep. I don't believe that. I think I was just irritating him, and he started to kick me in the middle of the night. And he kicked me repeatedly and kicked me off of the pop-up. And I fell onto the bench seating, the wooden bench seating, I might add, and actually ended up green stick fracturing my arm. There is a picture of me somewhere that I'll have to find. It's actually kind of cute in a sad little way, but it's me with a pacifier in my mouth, and I'm holding either a baby doll or a blanket, and I have this really pitiful look on my face. But my dad had noticed that I wasn't acting like myself. I'm a very happy-go-lucky person, even as a baby. So he ended up taking me to the emergency room, and turned out that I had green stick fractured my arm. At the end of the original first episode I had recorded, I was going to talk about how sometimes on camping trips, things don't always go to plan. And the example I was going to use was, hey, that one time that I actually green stick fractured my arm on a camping trip. And so I had sent the episode to my dad to have him listen to it and give me some constructive feedback. And he looks at me and he goes, Kelly, it's great. You're really good at this, but you got the place wrong. And I said, no, it wasn't. It was at Caesars Creek. And he goes, no, Kelly, it was at Maumee Bay up at Lake Erie. And I said, oh, prove it. So he had to get his old journals out and actually showed me where he had written about that trip where we had gone up to Maumee Bay and how I had fractured my arm. So it was at that point that I decided to re record my first episode. And this time, instead of talking about how sometimes on camping trips things go wrong, I was going to talk about the importance of keeping a travel journal, which just so happens to be rule number 1 on Kelly Egan's Survival Guide to Adventuring for Dummies, myself included. And that is number 1, to keep a travel journal. Now, tip number 1 for keeping a travel journal is to get a physical journal. It should not be a note in your phone or you simply remembering dates in your head. Guys, let's just keep it simple. Get a paper and pencil. Mine is a little navy blue Life is Good journal that I think I got for $6 at Target, and I love it. Tip number 2 for your journal is to keep your entries simple. Date, place, what you saw, what you did, where you ate, and find a way to indicate how much you enjoyed each one of those things. In mine, I simply put a star next to the things that I thoroughly enjoyed. So the reason that I do this is because I cannot tell you how many camping trips I have been on where I go, guys, we ate at this amazing place last time we were here. Oh, it was some pizza place, but I can't remember what it was called or where it was. So if you simply just jot it down, then you'll have a record of it. And so if it was a really good place, put a star by it. If it was a really bad place, there's one place that comes to mind that was just horrible. Put an X through it, put a line through it, highlight it and say, don't ever go here ever in it so you don't repeat past mistakes on trips. Tip number 3 for your journal is to get a stamp. Let me explain. All of our national parks have a stamp that is custom to that park that says the park's name and the date you were there. So you usually have to go to the nature center to get these. I would absolutely recommend getting the stamp. Now, when you're going to get the stamp, either do it yourself and double check that it's right side up, or double check that they do it right side up, because dum here, yes, I'm talking about myself, stamped mine in my book upside down. So don't be like me. Be smarter than me, guys. Learn from my mistakes. That's all I ask you. So I got it stamped directly into my journal. I also have a couple of bird books and field guides that I get them stamped in as well. But I would say get it stamped directly into your journal so there's going to be no question whether or not you were there on that date. It's also free, and it's a really cool way to document the places that you have been in your journal, and then just write your notes for the day around it. And then tip number 4 for your travel journal is to write down and log everything in your journal at the end of your day. So after you've taken a shower or you're winding down for the night, after you've had dinner, sit down, pull your journal out, and then pull out your phone or your map or your camera or whatever the case may be, and kind of backtrack through your day first. Click back through your pictures, remind yourself where you were, what you saw, because the last trip I took, I completely forgot that we were in St. Augustine in the morning, and I had forgotten to write down that we were in St. Augustine. So I had to kind of squeeze it into the side of the paper so that way I didn't forget we were there. So take a minute at the end of your night, flip back through your pictures, and double check where everywhere you were at, and remind yourself what all you saw, what all you did. So that is it, guys, for episode 1 of Nothing But Tracks. Thank you so much for clicking on the podcast and getting all the way to this point. I know it's been a rocky journey, especially for me getting this thing started, but I hope to get into a routine and hope to get one up maybe once a week, once every other week. So I really appreciate you guys being here and listening. I'm also going to be starting an Instagram account, and I'll be putting up some of the pictures of my journal and of a picture of me from when I was a little girl on my first camping trip that I remember where I broke my arm. So guys, thank you so much once again. And remember, leave it better than when you found it out there, and take nothing but memories and leave nothing but tracks. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.